That's good. Do you know what this is?
Hello, Woodland Ponders. My name is David Smith, and this is the fifth edition of Council Connections. Today, our guest is Dawn Sangre from the newly formed Sustainability Committee. And before we get into our interview or our conversation with Dawn, there's a couple of announcements Gretchen has asked me to make. Am I getting too much echo? I am. Okay. So Gretchen has asked me to remind you all of two things. One is that tomorrow afternoon at 1:30, from this broadcast from this room will be the USO show, which there's been some advertisements about. So it's 1:30 on 1340, and that show is expected to last something around 45 minutes. In addition, later this afternoon, the movie West Side Story will be shown on 1340. And I think it was supposed to start at 3, but because it's a lengthy movie, Gretchen has decided to start it immediately following the end of our conversation. A couple of announcements on behalf of the Residents Council. I hope you all got to see the association meeting on Tuesday, and where we concluded this year's business. Also, at our meeting, our monthly meeting this morning, we reviewed the survey that Yakov and Shalom had put together, reviewed some of the responses, and on an ongoing basis, starting shortly, some of you will be contacted about your interest and specific interest that you responded to. I'm told that there's at least 4 and maybe more residents here who have volunteered to be tutors and instructors in that, so we're looking forward to getting that started. One other thing is next month's guest, the first meeting of November, will be Joan Kleinegris from the Dining Committee. So that's the end of my announcements. Let me introduce Dawn Sangre, who is are you the chairperson or are you just the head of the steering committee?
We don't have a chair.
Oh, okay, so tell us, what do you have?
We have a steering committee,
Okay.
which emerged from the group of leaders that were originally in the first meetings. There were a bunch of people who talked more than anybody else and apparently had expertise and interest and commitment. And so we just got together and formed a steering committee. It was kind of a spontaneous
How did you
thing.
come to get together to do that?
It was kind of a spontaneous thing.
Mm-hmm.
And quickly it became clear who was going to do what. I like to chair meetings for a while. And so I ended up chairing the meeting. Joy Dreyer, who is on the steering committee, is a fabulous note taker. She takes notes as the meeting is occurring. So you get to the end of the meeting and 10 minutes later in your email, you have a whole set of notes about the meeting. So she became our scribe. And George Brown,
who was in the room,
has deep commitment to the earth, and he is a physician and his field is public health.
Ooh.
So that seemed useful. And Yakov Pittman is
also in the room.
Has many areas of expertise, but the one that I rely on the most is his technical expertise.
He'll be on the Residents Council next year. We have the same same goal.
He knows a lot about computers and stuff like that. So I have, in addition, when we did our second project was the video, the Containers R Us video. Mm-hmm. And when we did that video, some more people emerged as leaders. So now the steering committee has 6 people on it. June Feiner joined us, and also Nora Brown.
So that's your 6.
Yeah.
Okay. One more, you'll have a magnificent 7, right?
Right.
So I'm reading, I have access to your annual report, and it says that you were inspired by something to come together.
Right.
Could you tell us a little bit about that? Those?
Stuart Greenfield did a program. It was pictures, video, and audio. He spoke about the Earth. The program was called The Sixth Extinction. And it was played in the PAC to a full house more than once.
Right.
And the first time he played it, I think we were all in the audience.
I know you and I both
Yeah,
were, yeah.
you and I were. And I know Michelle was, because what I remember about it is that Michelle was in tears. And we were so moved by it that out of that experience, spontaneously, this committee grew.
So you only formed in like February or
Yeah,
Or March?
we had our first meetings in February.
and that meeting was partially by video, if I recall. Well,
Well,
Michelle was off-site, but the rest of us were in the room. Or was that not the first one?
in the first meetings where everybody was there in
Okay,
person,
my
because it
error.
was before the COVID shutdown.
Before COVID,
Yeah,
but that's a long
right,
time ago.
really. That was the before time.
So your group has done, and we'll get to your specific activities, but your group has continued to meet and expand and get into projects even during COVID.
Right.
You've met on Zoom or other remote
Yeah,
ways.
I guess in the beginning, when we had our first organizational meetings, there were about 15 or 20 people there. We just said, if you care about the environment, show up and talk to us. And those people came, and we put together a mission and a vision, which I would like to share with you.
Good.
Okay. Funny you should mention that. I have it right here. I was so glad we did this in the beginning, because the committee was dispersed for a while during the beginning of the COVID. Everybody was disorganized and confused and getting our feet under us. But we had this mission.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we came back to our feet and began to think about what we wanted to do, it really helped us to focus.
You already had
We already had this.
some
Okay, so the vision of the Woodland Pond Sustainability Committee, the vision, what we want, where we're going, is a viable world that sustains all living things for present and future generations. And that was worked out in this big meeting with a lot of talk.
with a lot of talk and crosstalk. And
that was what we got it down to. And the same thing for the mission. The mission is to honor, respect, and maintain environmentally sustainable living within the Woodland Pond community through actions that evaluate facilities, programs, and practices, educate and inspire, and advocate for positive change. And we boiled it down to a 3-word elevator speech: evaluate, educate, advocate.
What's an elevator speech?
An elevator speech is an explanation that you can make about any subject in the time it takes for the elevator to go from one floor to another.
That's what I thought it was. Good. So again, referencing your annual report, you said your first project was Earth Day, an Earth Day project. So I had this question for you before that. What is your recollection, if any, of the original Earth Day? Were you a participant? Were you cognizant of what was going on then in 50 years ago?
50 years ago. I'm going to have to make it up because I can't really remember, but I would guess, because I was involved with the faith community at that time, that we had demonstrations and activities organized around.
Were you in an urban area or
we were in
a
the
rural
suburbs?
Suburbs?
Yeah.
My own recollection, and this is 1970, I just gotten out of the Army about 3 weeks before that, didn't really know about Earth Day, except for destroy the Earth Day in Vietnam. But my brother was, I think, a junior or senior in high school, and their project was not to ride the bus to school that day. They were all going to walk.
Cool.
Well, we lived about 5 miles from his high school, so him and his buddies were up pretty darn early that morning, and they did it. And my comment was, bus still ran though. I mean, I don't know what he fixed, but I know the attitude was we're going to try to do something about it. So what specifically did your group do for Earth Day here?
Here?
Yeah, here.
Well,
if you want to go back to the 50 years ago,
okay.
that's cool too.
My memory for last April is a lot better than my memory for 50 years ago. Earth Day was timely for us because it was about the time as I said, we were getting our feet under us after COVID, and we just decided we had to do something. We were the sustainability committee. Earth Day was coming. We had to do something. So the first project that we worked on was a lobby display. Gretchen helped us with the triptych, and we decided we were going to collect all kinds of images about Earth Day, and they organized themselves around education and inspiration. So there was a part of it that was just a celebration of the earth, and there was a part of it that was more about the problems we're having and how to solve them. So that was one project we were working on, and then we decided that we wanted to do some programming. So some panels were put together. There was a panel about plastics, which was very much on our minds and still is, and there was a video. We put up the video about Yellowstone, what happened when the wolves came back, and some other things. So we did some programming on 1340, and we did this lobby display.
And what kind of responses or reactions did you get from the community?
It was very positive, and that was quite wonderful, actually. I think people were just coming out of their shells a little bit, and everybody was glad to see the display. The display was quite beautiful.
It was.
I have to say, it was quite an effort, and it ended up having resources as well, and books and stuff that were laid out in front of it. So it was really, it was quite a good celebration, and people responded to it very positively. It was great, which was so encouraging for us, you know, because we were just getting started, and it was like, oh, we can actually do what we said we were going to do,
and have it received in the way you wish, and not saying, what do those folks think they're trying to do to me?
Yeah. Exactly.
So reading on, you then did a survey. Was that your next major project? Was
Indeed.
coming off
Indeed.
of that?
And I hold this out. This is it. These are the actual surveys as they were handed in and tabulated. The survey was about the plastic containers that are used to deliver our food. As soon as all the food began to be delivered and all the plastic containers began to pile up in people's kitchens, there was a kind of an outcry about it. You know, what is this? We're supposed to be conserving the earth. Why are there all this plastic? So we were in conversation with Ronnie and Rob about that. And I wanted to say earlier, and didn't say it, that this committee is a combined committee.
Thank you.
Which means it has staff on it as well as residents. And Rob Dunn is our liaison, and Ronnie often sits with us. So we had a good connection to Ronnie, and we're in conversation with her about these containers, how terrible it was, and what could she do, and what were the options, and she was great. Ronnie is as giving and forthcoming and transparent as anybody I've ever worked with. She really laid it right on the line for us. She said, you know, no matter what we can get, and we can't get everything, but no matter what we can get, there are pros and cons to it. So the question came up, would we be willing to pay more in order to get sustainable containers, or containers that were more sustainable?
That was part of your survey.
And that was what the survey was about. And it was really quite remarkable how many people responded to it and how positive they were about being willing to pay more.
Wasn't one of the options not pay each time you use something, but pay so much to have so many containers, and then you turn it in, you get your money back, you turn it in, you get your money. I don't know where that is right now, but that was one of the things that was talked about at one point.
We have talked about, and we also have been collaborating with the dining room committee. There are people on the steering committee who are also members of the dining room committee.
You guys have your reach out all over the place, don't you? In a very good way. In a very good way.
Reusable containers, I think, as long as you're going to deliver food, reusable containers are probably the gold standard. The basic idea is you use the container and you clean it and you send it back.
And they
and
sterilize
they
it.
sterilize it and put food in it again.
Right.
So it's a multiple use
Right.
container rather than a single use container. And Ronnie is all over this and has information about it and vendors who will provide it. And so this is a real possibility, but she will not consider it until after the COVID
I
because of
understand.
the contamination
Yeah,
issue.
and just so much else going on, and
Right.
aiming at a moving target every day, it seems like, right?
Right. So Ronnie's first priority is to keep us well. Her first priority is to feed us well, but her high priority is to keep us safe.
Keep us safe. Well, number one, right?
With that.
So then you had another big project. You created a film. You have a filmographer on
my
your staff,
gosh.
do you?
Yes,
I didn't
this
skip
is-
over anything major, did I?
This was so wonderful.
It was.
So the survey said, yes, we are willing to pay more for containers, but as we were talking about all the stuff around the containers, it became clear that people didn't know what to do with them. And Rob Dunn was having a terrible time with the trash and the compost because nobody was abiding by the proper disposal regulations. So we decided to try to do something about that, to educate the community about that. And originally we talked about doing a program in the PAC. And then Yakov started talking to us about doing it on video. And he really had to work on me because I want to do the first idea I had, but he worked on me and worked on me. And eventually we decided that we would do it as a video. And we got a couple more cast members involved.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, and we had these great meetings all summer long. It was a wonderful project, and eventually produced this video called "Containers Are Us."
And is that available on the Woodland Pond YouTube
I
if
believe
somebody
it
wants
is.
to
I
go back a
believe it
couple?
is.
Okay.
Yes, I hope so. So we produced this video, and it tries to demonstrate all of the ways to deal with from the time your food is delivered to the door until the last container is put in the proper place and the food is put in the compost. And it was a demonstration project.
Now, yesterday at the management Q&A, Rob gave a shout out to your group. Was it in connection to that project or something else that you, or just generally?
I don't know. We work with him. I think it was the trash room signs that have just gone up.
Okay.
This is June Finer's hobby horse. We all have our own little, and things. My thing is compost. June's was these signs, and she told us, and I don't think I ever remember seeing the original signs, but once upon a time there were signs in the trash room that told you where to put stuff, and then they painted the trash rooms and didn't put the signs back up.
Oh.
So there were no signs.
No signs.
Or there were a few signs that weren't very helpful. So she asked Rob if he would produce a new set of signs, and he did that, and they had just gone up. So I think he was satisfied that we had this interaction and that it had produced the result that he wanted. And the signs are fabulous.
As a non-user of those rooms, because I live in a cottage,
Right, you live in a
where
cottage.
you have certain signs above certain containers that say what does or doesn't go in there?
Exactly right. That say what go in there. And I learned something when I looked at them. I always thought the aluminum foil went in the recycle, but it doesn't. It goes in the trash.
Aluminum foil. Even if you wash it, it still goes into the trash.
Even if you wash it. That's right.
We're always learning something, aren't we?
You bet.
Are you getting larger use in the compost bins because of any of your activity, or you don't know that?
I don't know if it's larger, but I do know because the compost bin happens to be right outside my door, is that it's not yet reached everyone exactly what the compost bin, what goes in the
What goes
compost
in
bin
and what doesn't.
doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, in fact, I brought a little demonstration along today.
Today
I did.
is now a good time for you to introduce it.
Well, let me before I do that, let me just go by my notes and see if I said everything I wanted to say.
Okay.
Okay, because I don't want to leave anything out. Oh, I know what I wanted to show. I know the camera's not good for showing this, but this is June made a sign that went with Containers Are Us.
Okay.
And this is the sign. It shows where everything goes. It was very beautifully organized, and I saved it because it was so pretty.
Very neat too.
It's
you?
my souvenir of the content. This is my souvenir of the survey. This is my souvenir of Containers R Us. And I wanted to pitch the meeting. We're having a meeting tomorrow.
Right.
The meeting is first ever hybrid. It will be both on Zoom and in the classroom.
Because the classroom is limited to 9 folks.
Because the
right?
classroom is limited, and because we are hoping that many more
Many
people will be able to come.
So did you all hear that? Tomorrow at 1 o'clock
Thank you.
on
Zoom.
Zoom. How does one access that?
One must speak to Yakov.
One must speak to Yakov.
Or send him an email.
Look up in your phone directory Yakov Pittman, and his email will be in there, the correct email address. You're going to rush right home and start fielding those.
He will send you a beautiful email that will tell you all about how to do that. And even I am able to follow these directions. So I hope lots of people will come. Our work is a lot of fun, and it's also important for this community and important for the rest of the world. So it has worldwide implications, and I think that's part of the reason it's so important to us, because it's not just about the compost here, although it clearly is about the compost here. It's about trying to get in a better relationship with the earth.
And what other projects do you all have on the queue?
Thank you. Coming up, we are working on a resource shelf, which will be in the library and will contain books and magazine articles and journal articles and newspaper clippings for all the residents to learn more about sustainability.
And where will these resources come from? You're looking for donations, are you? Or for...
Oh, we always welcome donations. Okay. Yes, I think the first collection has come pretty much from the committee.
Uh-huh. And how much shelf? We're talking about a shelf. Is that like how many linear feet might that be, or is it
3 feet? It's 4 feet.
4 feet. Okay.
Thank you. The other project that we are working on is Yakov's Pet Project, which is a project to encourage reusing instead of throwing things away, reusing and repairing everything. And he's working on getting a group of resident volunteers together so that they can offer their services to people to repair things.
Would, jumping out to the future, would this be some handyman type person coming to your home to fix something, or would you bring it to another site, or either way could work?
I'm not sure how it's going to work, especially during the COVID.
Well, I understand that. I was hoping I was thinking of the future.
But I think the first part of the idea is to try to get people who will volunteer to do that, and then to set up some kind of a system where people who need something repaired can get hooked up with the people who do the repairing.
I'm sure that among the people here at Woodland Pond, there are some people who are just dying to get out their old screwdrivers and wrenches and electric tape and other things to, we all had a basement at one point we could tinker around in.
Right. Yeah, there are a lot of people who have that inclination. Yeah. And also seamstresses and people who work in textiles, that might be useful. There are a lot of possibilities.
A lot of possibilities, yeah. You also have started a something called a sustainability minute. Are you the
Oh,
author
yeah,
of most
the
of those?
sustainability. Yeah, I'm the writer in the group.
Okay.
So I'm usually the person who writes the stuff for publication.
Mhm.
The sustainability minute is something that appears in Chanticleer
Right.
every week. It's just a little something about sustainability. The one that's in for Friday is about the trash signs.
Stay tuned.
And that really,
And then a monthly column in the Woodland Life newsletter as well.
right,
Are you also the author of that?
I am. Mhm.
So that's the end of your annual report
All
in
right.
bits and pieces. I think that this committee, and I was in a couple of those early meetings, has just got so much energy and so many great ideas and so many things that they want to do. And I think it's amazing how it's kind of coalesced into certain tangible outcomes and certain crystallized and finite goals. I think you all have
Thank
done a great job. Both of you as well.
Thank you.
A lot of work in a short time.
Yeah, it's been a real exciting project for me to get involved in. I was working when I first came
You were?
to Woodland Pond, and after I retired, there was a period of time when I was a little out of balance, didn't quite know what to do with myself.
You try gardening?
I've always had the garden, but I had this sense of, okay, now that I'm not working, what am I supposed to do with myself?
Mhm.
And I talked to Michelle about that at one point, and this was early on, and she said two things. She said, don't join a whole lot of committees right away, because then you'll just get sucked up into all the stuff that's going on here. Give yourself time to breathe. And she said, follow your heart. So she asked me what was on my heart, and sustainability was one of the things that I mentioned.
How about that?
Yeah, so it's been a long time growing here. And now I have questions for you.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
You can tell this wasn't rehearsed.
This is the compost
Oh,
quiz.
this is your.
This is the compost quiz.
Okay.
I want to say again that I live right next door. I live in the south wing on the bottom floor in the west corner. So I'm right next to that door where
Right.
the compost bin is. And instead of collecting the compost in any way, anytime I have compost to get rid of, I just walk it out there and dump it.
Yep.
So I visit the compost bin multiple times a day. And what I discover is that people put things in the compost bin that don't belong there.
I use the same bin, and looks like you might be fishing things out. I'm just
For
observing them in there.
For example, now this, I haven't actually found one of these in the compost bin.
Oh.
Where do you think this goes, by the way?
Oh, this is a test. I think it's garbage.
It is trash.
Okay.
Very good. Not recycled.
Non-recyclable.
Not recyclable. But another thing that I found in the compost bin recently is
I'm sorry.
oh,
A coat hanger.
Dave's going to hold it
A
up.
coat hanger. Thank you, Suzanne.
Mesh bag.
Mesh bag. I'm going to
Mesh
say I would
bag.
also call that trash.
You bet. It's
Oh, 2 for
plastic,
2.
but it doesn't get recycled because
No.
it doesn't have numbers on it. And even if your food happens to be in this nice little mesh bag, don't put the
Don't put the
bag in the
bag in.
compost, because the compost goes from our compost bin to the compost company's processing plant, where it gets turned into dirt. And there's no way
That's
you're
not dirt.
ever going to make
Right.
dirt out of that plastic.
On the other hand, you can take garden waste, if you will,
Oh,
and
sure.
put it in there, because that will
Absolutely.
turn into dirt, plant matter,
Absolutely.
as I've put some from my own side in, and maybe you have as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, you can put your garden cuttings in there,
Yep,
because
that's us.
they're just like lettuce. So what about this one?
I would recycle that.
It's got a number 5 on the bottom. I would
Is the 5 a
recycle
good
it
number
too.
for recycle? Am I 3 for 3 now?
Yes.
Wait, don't tell me. I would now win a prize, you know.
Oh, no, you have more questions. More questions. What about this banana peel?
That's organic. I would put it in the compost.
That's correct. What about this?
Is there a trick question coming? I also,
Isn't he doing great? What about this
that's coffee
coffee
grinds?
filter?
I put the coffee grinds and the filter in the compost. Please tell me that's right.
That's correct,
Thank you.
because the coffee filter is compostable paper. What about, this is the last one. So far, your perfect score, Dave. What about this paper towel?
No.
Yes.
Ooh.
Yes, if the paper towel with the food waste on it can go right in your compost bin.
It can.
It can. It's uncoated paper. And
Okay.
it just falls apart. It's organic. It
Well,
just falls
that's new to me, and I hope somebody else out there learned. Maybe lots of people learned.
How about this plastic container?
I would recycle that as well. I would clean it first, but then I'd recycle it.
But please don't put it in the compost.
No, and you know, just the other day I was putting something in, and I don't think it was that particular container, but I put something in. There was a plastic container in there,
Right.
and I said, I went home and I told my wife that, and I said to her, "What do you think I did?" And she says, "Well, you didn't bring it home, did you?" I said, "No, because it was way far down and had a lot of food stuff on it." But I'm just wondering if somebody couldn't reach in to pick it up and it's fallen out of his or her arms.
Right. I'll tell
We'll
you.
take the high road on that one.
Another thing that I saw in my compost recently, which is our
Our
compost, was one of those paper boxes
That the
that the
meals come in?
food, the food come in.
I'm
Yeah.
told they're not
They're
because they
not-
are coated. They have a
That-
coating on it
that's
that is not
correct.
recycled, not
That's correct.
compostable.
Yep, they're not
Yeah,
compostable.
I've been paying attention to some of the things I've been
Yeah, that's great.
told.
That's great. So,
This is good. I like that.
well, it's ongoing.
Ongoing. Dawn, is there anything else you wanted to say on behalf of your committee or your committee's work or any other topic?
The Sustainability Committee is a real source of nourishment for me
Mhm.
and for the community. And I'm very proud to be working with this group of committed people.
You really have some high energy folks
Yeah.
On your group,
Yeah,
in your group. don't you? Yeah.
it's a real pleasure challenge. A lot of strong
I've seen you
personalities.
steer a meeting where you needed to go.
A lot of strong personalities, but that's the kind of energy that we need. And I'll say it again. I think the work is really important.
I agree. I agree.
And we'd love to have more people join us.
And so they can tomorrow via
Absolutely. Come to
the
the
video
meeting.
option.
Come to the meeting. We'll put you on our listserv and get you involved in our projects. That would be really a welcome thing.
Do George left. Yakov, did you have anything that we didn't cover that you think should be?
No, I think they did a great job.
Oh, thanks.
You presented
Okay.
and we hope to have more people volunteer for different things because we have a couple of projects that we would like to.
Yakov is asking that people tune in and learn how they can volunteer for upcoming projects, including his repair cafe or whatever he's going to. Okay, so in closing, as is our habit at these things, I'm going to read a couple of jokes.
Oh,
Now, the source of Suzanne asked me, where do you get your jokes from, Dave? Well, this time I got them from a catalog, not a joke catalog, but these catalogs that come in the mail with these T-shirts sayings on them. So I have a couple. Bear with me. You never see a motorcycle outside a psychiatrist's office. Tomorrow, a mythical land where I get all my stuff done. I'm a multitasker. I can listen, ignore, and forget all at the same time. So I went to the store the other day and there was a big mix-up. Apparently when the woman said, "strip down facing me," she was referring to my credit card. And that was my fault. I didn't know what she was talking about. My wife says I have two faults. I don't listen and something else. I don't know what the second one is. My doctor asked if anyone in my family suffers from mental illness. And I said, no, we all seem to enjoy it. A laugh. Since there is only one of me, does that make me endangered or a limited edition? That's something the Sustainability Committee might
that's right.
take up.
That's right.
I used to think that the dryer made my clothes shrink, but it turns out it's the refrigerator that does that, not the dryer. I went to an antique show the other day and people were bidding on me. Now, I hate it when people accuse me of lollygagging, when it is absolutely clear that I am dilly-dallying.
Uh-huh.
And one, in honor of you, Don, God only gives 3 answers to prayers. 1 is yes, 2 is not yet, and 3 is I have something better in mind.
Uh-huh.
That's all we have for you today. Thank you for listening, and tune in tomorrow for both the USO show, followed by West Side Story. And please get a hold of Yakov if you're in any way interested in visually attending the meeting tomorrow. Email by email. Thank you. Any phone, anything. Carrier pigeon. Thank you all.